Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another Babbling Irons match preview with myself and Mike today. Big game coming up in Europa League, back to the away days of Europe, but we're not going to be there. We've got our one more match ban, unfortunately, but hopefully we can, get the 3 points anyway against Freiburg on Thursday. And what do you make of Freiburg so far, Mike? I mean, we'll get into the kind of breakdown of them in a bit more detail, but as a kind of starting point, just here's their league form for those that are kind of wondering. They've played 6 matches, only scored 7 goals, conceded 10, and yeah, 4 assists isn't very relevant. And yeah, in the league table, they currently sit eighth, so pretty similar to us in terms of the actual league position, but slightly different in the play style. Is maybe a little bit of a understatement, but yeah, talk to me about Freiburg and those that don't know much about them so far this
Yeah.
season.
So they've been a bit of a mixed bag this season. Obviously, 10 goals conceded, but doesn't really paint the picture as much as it probably should. In those, when you look at the goals conceded, they conceded 5 against Stuttgart. Earlier in the season, I think it was the third game of the season. They lost that by 5 goals to 0, and then the following week they go and then lose to Dortmund at 4-2. So keeping the opposition at bay isn't necessarily, their main strength. Even the game which they beat Hoffenheim at the start of the season, Hoffenheim had an XG of like 3.31.
Yeah.
Right. They are a team that can be very similar to West Ham in that they are do pretty well in holding a structure and holding a shape together defensively. However, much like us last season, they can hold a shape, but they can give you opportunities left, right, and centre. And that's something we saw last year because we tried to change this more possession-based football that we often got caught out in possession. And specifically in transition, we were exposed almost week on week from the first part of the season. They're very much going through a bit of the same. And whilst they're in a decent position in the league, it's, if you'd watched the game against Augsburg this weekend, you would see a team that for lack of a better term, in a very simplistic terms, is a team you can get at.
Yeah.
They really like to play out from the back. They're quite patient in possession. They do look to obviously inject a bit of pace when they need to, but the propensity in which to play out from the back is so strong that even rather than trying to clear in their lines, they still try and play out, which often means you can, if you press well, if we take, I think it's the second goal, or maybe the first or second goal that we got against Sheffield United, well, I think we won it.
Second goal,
won it high up in midfield in their half. It's very much what happened to them probably about 3 or 4 times in the first half against Augsburg, but they had nothing in the final third. And that's the kind of situations that you'll get against Freiburg because they want to play in that way, and they will play with players with their backs to goal.
Well, that's interesting because we've said it a lot of time, especially last season, we were quite wasteful with our chances. And, in maybe again this season, like you mentioned, we've moved more back to how David Moyes probably was set up a couple of years ago with us, where we got our success. And we've actually got a lot of success because we've been quite clinical when we've got those moments to finish. So do you think it's going to be a similar game in terms of the pattern, in terms of, we'll give them possession, they'll try and play out from the back, but the gaps will be there? Similar to Brighton, not quite the same extent, but that's similar vibe.
Yeah, I think with Freiburg, if you engage them, you can get through them. I think the things that you need to be wary of with Freiburg is that they like to play quickly. When the game breaks down, they like to play quickly. So any kind of fouls or anything that happens, they like to get up and then play the ball very quickly, which means that if you're not set, if you're not switched on, they will look to try and take advantage.
Yeah.
They will create chances because they play essentially the same formation that Leverkusen does. So they'll have a back three with 2 pretty aggressive fullbacks. One of their fullbacks, Shalai, who is a Hungarian player. He plays right wing back, but really he's traditionally played right wing, or has also played up.
Yeah, we can look at how they lined up on the weekend to give you guys a visual. And Mike, you can talk us through this as well.
Yeah, so as I say, Shalai, he plays right wing back role, but really he pushes up really high. And as you can see with Griffo and Doan, they both play inside. So they both play off the centre forward. So they kind of play, I guess, the inverted version of what we played in terms of the front three that we got against Genk last season, which caused us problems because they had two centre forwards and then they had one player sitting in behind, and that caused us a lot of problems. And they obviously do the inversion of that with a single centre forward and two playing very close. Shalai's got really good pace, really good energy, gets up and down, and he will look to do the outside to inside run consistently to try and get in at the back post. And he actually won them the penalty in the first minute in the game at the weekend by doing that exact same thing, by getting the ball, driving in from the outside and coming in.
That would have scared me more last season, from especially the second half where Emerson. There were times last season where Emerson was kind of switched off and didn't really track the runners, but this season he's been on it. So I'm hoping that's going to be down his side. So hopefully he will be alert to that as well.
Yeah, I think Emerson will, but again, we also got to remember that it's a Europa League game, so it's probably going to be Cresswell. It's possibly not going to be Everton because Newcastle's the big game. So it'd be interesting to see what lineup we go for. I think we tend to, the midfield always seems to be the non-changeable.
Do you think it will be that for this type of game? I know that the home game was they were pretty low opposition, but Freiburg is maybe a little bit more of a. I mean, it is more of a step up in terms of opposition.
Massively a step up.
Do you think that we should be fully rotating, or do you think it should be a mix? Because I think in the Europa League the first season we were in, we played pretty full strength in the early group stages until we knew we'd qualified. Do you think Moyes would do a similar thing, or do you think he'll just go second string?
I think it might be a mix. However, he has a much stronger and deeper team than what he had previously. True. So he needs to keep players on side. Otherwise, come January, he's going to have quite a few players knocking on the door if he doesn't. So he needs to keep players on side to keep them involved, keep them part of the team, etc. So I think there will be a level of rotation. How heavy that is, I don't know, but I think there will be a rotation. I think it's almost nailed on. You're going to see Kera, Mavropanos. When we talk about midfield, you're going to see Kudus. I reckon you'll probably see Cornet.
Fornals.
Fornals as well. Yes, yeah. I think up top, I could potentially see Antonio playing because I don't think Ings is brought on enough when he has played, and I don't see him entrusting Mubama unless we are completely through. So,
do you think it will be the same system? Because a lot, especially last season in the Europa Conference League, we actually played like a 3-4-1-2 a lot of the time and played like Bo and Antonio up top.
I'd be disappointed if we did go to that.
Yeah.
Purely because I think we're probably better served in staying in a formation that we've done well in. Now, if we do go into that formation, I think that could work if you're playing Cornet and Kudus as the top two and front two. And then maybe you kind of copy what the guys are doing at Freiburg, but as I say, you invert their version of the front three by playing Fornals.
Yeah, I don't want us to be experimenting at this time.
I wouldn't say experiment, but it's about pace and movement.
Yeah.
If you got Kudus and Cornet there, that's a lot of pace. And like when I say you can catch Freiburg in possession, they will give you chances. It's not because they're poor on the ball, but it's because of how they want to play. That you can, if you are pressing them correctly, and if you've got good pace in that front line that can push up and work them, then you are going to cause them to make loose passes. And it's something we've done well. Something that we've seen James Ward-Prowse do incredibly well this season is press aggressively to win the ball over. And I think it's probably between him, maybe of our normal three, you could probably say Souček, Paqueta, or maybe Ward-Prowse are potentially going to start.
Yeah.
I'm not sure whether Alvarez will play because he might.
I don't think Alvarez will start, especially considering he's had his fitness issues. He can't really see out in 90 minutes, and it seems.
Well, I think he's picking up a yellow card, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. So I can see maybe Moyes dropping Souček into the 6 and playing him alongside like a Ward-Prowse and Paqueta, or even bringing someone like Fornals into that midfield 3. And then I think it'll be interesting to see how he does line up because, like you mentioned, we've got Newcastle in a few days' time, and that's equally as important, if not more important, given our start to the season. So, would you like to see Moyes change it up, or would you like to see him go full strength and try and get the win and try and cement our place at the top of the group stage? Because these guys won their first game too against Olympiacos.
I think it's a catch-22, right? And if you look at the Olympiacos game, Olympiacos created a lot of chances, but they were really profligate in front of goal. So we should be under no illusions as to our ability in which to cause them problems. Now, that's not to say Freiburg won't cause us problems because they are good in attack. Let's say Salah, if we are not switched on to his runs, he can cause us problems from deep. And their other, strike force. Again, we've got good movement between them, and if we get a penalty, the goalkeeper needs to be aware as soon as that referee's whistle goes, Griffo is going to be hitting that ball. Like he does not wait at all. It's quite novel to see.
Hopefully we don't see it.
No, exactly. And it makes it really hard for him. He's got such a good penalty rate because as soon as that whistle goes, he's already kicking the ball pretty much. Yeah. So the goalkeeper literally has no time to think. He has to just react straight away. I think personally, I think it does need a bit of mixing up. I would prefer that it's not all of the main guys. I would like to see maybe, Paqueta rested. Although you could argue he's probably one that gets rested the most in terms of being subbed off in games. But I do think we maybe need a little bit of rotation in there because Newcastle's a massive game and then it's followed by Villa. And our league form has been good at the start, and I think we need to do everything we can to protect that and continue that because it's that momentum, and I think we could probably afford to maybe get a draw or not play so well and get a draw at Freiburg, and risk it with a lesser team.
Yeah. I think that is the point now. When we look at our second string now compared to where it was 2 seasons ago, there isn't really much of a drop off in quality. You could even argue there is maybe a step up in quality compared to what we're playing at the moment in the Premier League with the likes of Kudus on the bench. So I would like to see a mix. Mavropanos comes straight in. Again, Kera, another one that could easily come in. Then you've got the goalkeeper rotation. Then you've got some midfield options, like you mentioned, with Fornals. You've got Ben Rama. You've got Cornet. You've got Kudus. You've got a lot of different options, and you're still not really going there with a team that you'd feel not confident in getting a result in. So I would kind of mix it half and half. I would probably
most of those players that you've mentioned there, at one point or another, people have argued that one of those or two of those should be part of our best 11. So if we're rotating them in, that what a great thing that is for us that we can mix up our team and still have
it's also a great chance to give them minutes. We've seen how it is very difficult for someone like Fornals who gets frozen out. Even Cornet to a bigger extent gets frozen out, plays a couple of minutes, and then is kind of instantly told to perform in one game. It's difficult to do that when you're not up to speed. So I think these Europa League matches are going to be a good chance for those types of players to get those games. And like we mentioned, we've got Newcastle in 3 days and then Villa, but we have the international break between that, so we can afford to kind of mix up a little bit half and half. Go full strength against Newcastle, go all out, and then we've got the international break anyway. So, yeah, I wouldn't completely change it. I would not be bringing in like Ogbonna. I wouldn't play Cresswell. But then the rest of the team, really, you can rotate, and I don't think there is a massive drop off in quality. I'd maybe keep Bowen out on the right, but other than that, we can afford to change it. We really can, and I'd still be confident that we're going to get a result.
The really nice thing is the fact that you could argue not starting Bowen and then we need a goal. We've got a guy on the bench who is at the moment is in the goals and looks like he's going to score in every game. So they have that, what is such a rarity and a luxury for West Ham to have something to be able to say, Bowen, we need you to come on to score us a goal. Paqueta's not starting. Paqueta, we need you to come on in the middle and give us a bit of quality on the ball.
Happened against Anderlecht last season when we asked Paqueta and Scamacca to come on and just change the game.
Exactly, and that's what we did last season in the Europa Conference. We used our bench, and I would say our bench was nowhere near as strong as it is this year.
Agreed.
To change the tide of games. And I think that's the great thing is that you can give 45 minutes to these players.
Yeah.
Again, as you say, it's difficult in some respects because you're asking them to go straight out and perform, and it's not always possible because it's early season anyway. So form isn't really there yet, but you're also asking these players to then just go out and immediately perform to cause a headache. But if a player is able to do that, like Kudus did in the last one, he scored 2 goals. He immediately created a headache. Came on against Sheffield United, made a couple of lung busting runs and great runs, again causing a headache. So he's starting to make that point as to if other players start doing things like Kudus has done, or even what Mavropanos did. Again, quality was much lower in the first game, but again was physically dominant, strong in the air. Things like that, they start to then create questions when other players are starting to fall a little bit out of form. All of a sudden, doubts creep in as to whether they should stay in, and that's what you want. You want doubt as such when a player is slightly out of form, because you want that player to know that your place is under threat. This guy's going to come in, so you either need to step up or move aside and then work your way back in. I think it's a good thing. Moyes doesn't always do that what we want, but I think it's a good thing that we now have proper competition. I think, Mavropanos, I think, is almost nailed on as the player to start. Because it's against German opposition as well. I think it's almost nailed on that you're going to have someone with that league experience to be there to kind of help everyone understand a bit of what Freiburg's about. And that's the other thing. Freiburg have been that team for a number of years, and it's a fairly young team. So someone like Mavropanos has played against them will understand their style, will be able to help everyone understand as to look, these are the things that I've witnessed playing against them week in, week out. These are the things where we can attack them. This is how we can get at certain players. Obviously, there are some changes to the team from the summer, but still, to have someone in your team that can relay information, vital information as to how you can kind of go about getting at this team, I think is great for us. And it's going to be an interesting game because if we can get the win, as you say, that secures our spot. Olympiacos have already lost the game. I think that's probably, if we can win this one, if you win Olympiacos, then I would say we're through in the group.
Pretty much, because they're both away games as well. So then we'd have to hope
exactly. We win our first 3 games, and I think we're pretty safe. Because then coming to London Stadium, as we've seen in Europe, we've been impressive at home. Only
in any competition, really.
Yeah, I think Frankfurt is the only team to have beaten us in European competition in the last, in this 3-year stint in Europe.
Yeah, I think we lost at home to when we played like the youth.
We did lose to Dynamo.
Zagreb, but other than that, you're right.
But that was youth team. When the games have mattered, we've kind of won. At home, we've been impressive.
So with that, Mike, let's end on our predictions, because I mean, we have no reason other than to be confident, really. We've only lost to Liverpool and City so far this season. We've looked much better. Like you mentioned, we've got a bigger squad, a better squad. So that rotation isn't going to harm us as much in these types of competitions. So for me, I'm going to go with 2-1. I think we'll have enough of them. I'll never predict us to keep a clean sheet. I don't think ever again. Just because we don't. But we have in our last 2 games, so maybe I'm wrong. But yeah, I think we'll have enough. And like you mentioned, having the likes of Bowen, Paqueta, if they are on the bench, to come on and change the game, it's going to be massive in that last, 30 minutes of the game. So yeah, 2-1 for me. What's your prediction?
I think we can do it 2-3-1. And I'm not normally, as you always know, I'm not a positive one.
You're ill.
I just think that we have more than enough to cause them problems. And I think if we've watched the Augsburg game, which I'm sure we have, there's many things we would have noticed as to how and when to press them and to attack them. And if we can do that, we'll win the ball high up in their half, or at least within their half. And we will be able to really go at them. And with the likes of Kudus, if we're playing Cornet as well, I know Cornet's not been in form, but pace is everything. And pace can be the great equaliser regardless of form. So I think they will cause us problems. I do see them scoring because they create as well. If we are vigilant and we do go about things the right way, and Fabianski wants to prove a point, then I do think 2-3-1 for us is achievable. But by no means is it going to be an easy game. Freiburg are a good team, and if it turns out to be an easy game, then I think it's because we've really exposed, as I say, that those weaknesses that are within Freiburg, which also are part of what makes them a good aesthetic team to watch, because they like to play football.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. You know, this is probably going to be the toughest game of the group. You know, away to Freiburg. There.
Oh, I think, to be honest, I think the toughest game in the group is going to be Olympiacos away because of how hostile that atmosphere
Yeah,
is.
true. The environment will be
I
different,
think
but
the environment in that game is going to make that the toughest game. I think from a technical footballing point of view,
yeah,
this will be our toughest game. But from a dealing with an atmosphere and a hostile atmosphere, I think the Olympiacos game is going to be a different level to what we've experienced in any of the European games, I think, actually.
Yeah, it's going to be tough. I mean, they've shown over the years in Europe that they're not an easy team to go and win at. So, yeah, you are right. But this, yeah, from a technical point of view, footballing point of view, I think Freiburg is the toughest in our group. So it's going to be tough. No away fans, as we mentioned. So we've got that against us as well. But I'm sure the players are expecting that, and they'll know what to do on the night or the evening, should I say, come Thursday evening. So, yeah, let us know what you guys think in the comments. Give us your predictions, who you'd like to see in the lineup, and yeah, whether you're confident going into our second group match of the Europa League campaign. And yeah, we'll be back for the review after the match. We'll probably be doing a live stream straight after the game, so make sure to check us for that. Leave a like on the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel if you haven't already. And Mike, until next time,
Come on, you
come on, you
Irons.
Irons.